Hello, Facebook. It's me again. I want to address the issue today that I've had many people here recently kind of thought that they could say to me to stump me with. But I want to address it because for those that are out there that aren't sure if they're doing the right thing with prepping and with resources such as money being greatly limited right now, and you're having to decide whether to pay bills, whether to go out and do things to have fun, or wherever to uh, prep for future disasters or future emergencies, it gets difficult to see which direction to go in. And a lot of people that aren't preppers, they want to say to me, what if nothing happens? What then? I done bought all this stuff for nothing. And that's the issue I want to address today. Are you prepping for nothing? Today is October 7th, 2019. And the question I'm going to address again is, are you prepping for nothing? Now, right now, I'm going to start off with who we in the prepper industry accredit with being possibly the first prepper, which was Noah. That guy had to have a strong spiritual mindset. And I feel that that was put upon him by God. Because depending upon what pastor you talk to, it took him anywhere from 100 to 120 years to build that ark. Now, during that time period, you take in consideration that his resources had to be greatly limited. It took a great expenditure of his family's money, a great amount of sacrifice from doing other things he much would rather have done. But he had this put upon his heart to do this task, and he saw the mission through to the end. Now, I'm sure that the townspeople labeled him and his family as outcasts. They were nuts. They were kooks. They probably threw rocks at him. They probably laughed and scoffed at him from the hillsides while they're out there working every day. And I'm sure that when his sons went out to date some of the girls, some of the fathers probably said, no, no way. That family's crazy. So, but still, through year after year of sacrifice and the pain that they had to go through, especially him, because he had to be the strength of his family, he saw that mission through to the end, and it turned out what was put up on his spirit was correct, and it saved their life. And that's the balance that you have to find right now. Do you prep? And what if you don't prep? Would it mean your life if a situation took place? I mean, if nothing happens, let's say you prep for a financial collapse, and nothing happened that year, like in 2008. I had prepped for that. I had made that prediction there was going to be a collapse, and at the last minute, I believe it was Warren Buffett came up with the ideal at the Federal Reserve in the big meeting with the president and everybody. Let's let the public do the bailout. Let's let the public bail out all the corporations, the banks, and even him for the money he lost in the markets. Let's let them pay for it. And it was because of that ideal, and the public did the bailouts and got stuck with the price tag, that they were able to save the financial system. So, people want to throw up in my face, well, you did all that prepping for nothing. No, I had extra food and water on hand. And there was one person I knew that got laid off, and I was able to help them out. Also, there's a few times that I got into a financial pinch, and because I had that extra food and water on hand, I didn't have to allocate resources to going out to buy groceries. So that came in greatly handy for me. And then I had extra money on hand, uh, for in case there was a collapse that I was saving at my house. When is that ever a bad thing to have? And then on top of that, uh, other people that I was trying to help at that time, it put them in a better position because there was a great amount of layoffs and closures of companies that was going on at that time. So when is ever having extra knowledge, extra food and water, extra money, or even in my case, back then I was trying to get out of debt as fast as I could. When is that a bad thing? So when you say, well, if nothing happens, you done did all that for nothing. No, never, never. And as far as if something had happened, I was prepped and ready. So there's no way I could have lost my life, or anyone that I cared about would have went through any hardships, because I'd have been in the right place at the right time to help those that I wanted to help. So as far as putting it on the weight scale, what if nothing happens on one side? And what if you don't prep? What's the worst that can happen to you? I'd rather be on the side of prepping versus doing nothing. Then let's go with the three pig analogy. When I was younger, it wasn't so much politically correct. When one of the pig's house got blown down, he was devoured. He died for his lack of preparation. Only the last pig lived. Now later, when they wanted to make that nursery rhyme politically correct, then, one pig ran to the other one's house. When that one got blew in, then he ran to the other one's house, and they had a party in the house of brick because the disaster that occurred, or the big bad wolf couldn't knock that house down. But to me, that gave a false message to people. You stick with what the original was, and that was through proper preparation, you're able to make it through situations. Now, that brings me to the next point. I told someone recently that it's your knowledge, your preps that you have in place, and your training that can get you through a situation. Now, I'm going to say up front right now that if civil unrest happened, I don't care how much knowledge or preps I have in place or whatever, if I'm out there in them streets and civil unrest occurs, I could die fired from the first bullet fired on the first day in the first minute of an event. But I'm saying that to say that the preps that you have in place are there to make it where you can get through a situation. Not only get through a situation, but you can thrive through a situation, because you're not going to have to suffer like the other people will. But if that one misfortune doesn't occur where I die in the first minute on the first day, I'm in a position to make it through a situation, and it'd be just another day to me where other people would be out there greatly suffering for the lack of preparation. And I'm going to break that down a little bit. Let's say back in May of this year of 2019, we had the tornado swarm that came on Memorial Day at exactly 10:59 at night. So you couldn't even see the tornadoes coming. But let's say that my windows would have caved in, and if I hadn't made it to my basement, and I got lacerated by glass. Now, by having preps in place, I have a massive first aid kit with 2 over 5 gallon buckets full of equipment, sutures, tourniquets, etc. I know how to put that tourniquet on through knowledge and training that I've taken, and I can put it on high and tight, tie it off, and if I didn't have a tourniquet, I know how to take a bandana and a stick and twist that together to form a tourniquet to be able to control bleeding. And if you can control bleeding, you can save a life. But if I had not had those preps, if I had not had that training, and I wasn't able to retain that knowledge, 9 times out of 10, I could bleed out in under 13 minutes. Now, is a hospital close enough to me if the roads were clear after the tornado that I could get to in 13 minutes or less? The answer to that is no. I could bleed out on the way. So, again, if nothing happens, I've lost nothing. But if something does happen and I didn't prep, I could actually die from that. And I'm not willing to take that chance. Now, as far as knowledge, I've taken hydroponics classes, gardening classes, CERT training. I've taken combat first aid. I've taken some first aid classes, etc. Taken lots of notes. I've actually been to training courses to where I've gone through certain training, different firearms training, different things like that. Firing, archery, etc., hunting. And then I've got plenty of preps in place that goes in coordination with that training. So if something happens, I'm pretty confident, and I mean extremely confident, that I can get through most situations without any problem whatsoever. But for those that don't have the knowledge and don't have the training or the preps, and I give you an example of a few cases. I know of one person right now that has about 4 guns that they went out and bought here recently. And while they were at the gun shows on different occasions, they bought ammo with it. I was at their house recently. I looked at their guns and I picked up a box of 45 shells. And I said, you know, they had 2 rifles, a shotgun, and a pistol. I said, which guns does this go to? They didn't even know. Then I said, well, if you had to load up a clip real quick, and I picked up a clip to their rifle, I said, show me how you put it in. They started putting the bullet in the wrong direction in the magazine to begin with. And then when they started trying to lock it in, it took forever before they finally figured out how to put it in. So they lacked the training and the knowledge of how to even use the firearm. I know other people that's bought plenty of preps and they got all this gear on hand. And when I've met with them and talked with them, they didn't even know how to operate the stuff they had. They figured that they're going to have time to read the owner's manuals and figure it out then. And you don't want to do that. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the better you get at something. I mean, I don't have the skill level that I have because of lack of practice and training. You want to keep those skills fresh, so you constantly want to stay in shape and practice. I mean, I know how to throw knives, but if I went, say, an entire summer without it, not only would my confidence go down, but so would my skills. I probably would only be able to stick 1 out of 3 if I was lucky, whereas I can go 3 for 3 now out to about 12 feet. And I say that with complete confidence. In fact, there'll be a future video that I'm going to do on that. But the one thing that everybody needs to understand is bad things do happen to good people. And they want to run around here and feel as though they can stay in a slumber. Nothing's going to happen to them as long as they live right or stay right. Nothing bad could ever happen. But if you look at all the disasters that's occurred this year alone in 2019, and I even am calling 2019 the retail apocalypse because of all the stores that closed after the bad Christmas we had. And if they haven't closed, they've closed over half their franchises, which would show that the economy itself is bad regardless of what you're hearing in the news. I would say the best thing to do right now to prep for what I think is coming is get out of debt as fast as you can. Try to put back some money to have an emergency fund set up. And that's going to take great sacrifice. It's going to take great pains, because I know people right now tell me that they don't have no extra money, but they're buying a half-gallon of liquor every week. And they go through multiple bottles. They're buying scratch-offs. They're buying different things. If you really want to, you have to sacrifice something in this day and time to achieve another goal. And right now, I'd say the best thing to do is make those sacrifices. Get a certain amount of preps in place. And then once you're in a certain position, then you can go back to doing what you were doing, because you're already set up for if things go sideways. I mean, sacrifice and pain, it's not going to be easy. And that's basically what I have to say right now. When it comes down to, are you prepping for nothing? The answer is definitely no. What harm is there in having extra money? What harm is there in having to be out of debt? What harm is there in having extra water, food on hand, extra clothing, extra first aid stuff, or prescriptions on hand in case something dire happens in our society? What bad could come from having extra knowledge, taking extra training and training courses? Because if nothing else, if nothing happens in my lifetime, I can pass those skill sets down to my daughter, to my grandson, and those skills could be passed down to future generations of my family. So when those people out there want to ridicule you and make fun of you for what you're trying to do, if God has put this upon your heart that you need to do it, I say do it. Whether it's your ancestors, your God, whatever your beliefs are, I say start prepping, get on a program, get a plan of action in mind, discuss it with your family. And if they don't share your interest, don't let that discourage you. Continue on the course of action, because when something happens, you'll be in the right place at the right time to help those that didn't want to believe. So I'm gonna end my rant at that, and I hope you stay strong in your beliefs. I hope you develop the warrior mindset and continue to prep. Bye bye.